mention is that we are live streaming and recording this, so share it with your friends afterwards, okay? The next thing I want to say is I am not as good at public speaking as our two speakers here today, so bear with me. I'm going to take it nice and slow, make sure I cover everything, but forgive me for any fudges. My name is Ray, and I'm honored to be part of the team organizing Startup Chippewa Valley. The first thing I want to share with you all is our mission at Startup Chippewa Valley. Our mission is to educate, connect, and celebrate startups, entrepreneurs, and small businesses across the Chippewa Valley. I've said Chippewa Valley about 10 times already, right? And that's because we're really excited to be focused locally and to be helping build the economy, helping build small businesses, helping people build their livelihoods in our local area. As a part of that, we're actually really proud to be part of Startup Wisconsin as well. So again, hyper-focused locally, but part of a bigger picture statewide. The next thing that I want to share is how grateful I am to Royal Credit Union for sponsoring today's keynote and making not only this keynote possible, but for being a longtime supporter of Startup Chippewa Valley for many, many years. I'll say more about that in just a little bit, but wanted to start my list with that, absolutely. The next thing I'd like to share really quickly is gratitude for the Eau Claire Economic Development Corporation. So the Eau Claire EDC is the group that makes this all possible under the umbrella of nonprofit sponsorship. So huge thanks to Luke and Emily for being a part of making Startup Chippewa Valley the magical thing that it is. My next topic here is additional community advisors. A huge thank you to our partners at the Economic Development Centers in Dunn County. Adam, you rock star, and in the Chippewa area. So Charlie, Sarah, Casey, and that team. The last thing I want to mention is that we have a slew of programming that happens every year, and I don't always get a chance to give everyone their flowers all at once. That's a cool kid phrase. I don't know if anyone knows that. So I just want to do a real quick list of all of the people who have either hosted programming or sponsored programming in a specific way. So this is going to come off as a list, but I'm doing that for a reason because there are so many entities and people that make this week what it is. So Muskie Tank, the Muskie Tank mixer was fantastic. I hope some of you got to experience that, but Scott, Pete, Danielle, and Anthony did fantastic. Edwin Marie Web Design, Second Stage Growth, Learn Better, 4Ps Consulting, Priest Financial, the UW Eau Claire Blue Gold Innovation Club, John Arms of Voyager U, Caitlin Taylor of A Good Ass Day, and Austin Bauer Videography and Collins Creative all put on fantastic programming throughout the week, and I can't thank all of them enough. Last but not least, I want to talk about our sponsors one more time. So first, real quick, I'll share that we've had sponsors throughout the week. The Coven has sponsored a number of venue options. The Pablo Center is sharing this space with generosity. Grandpa Earl's Foods, the district, and the Lismore have all contributed. But I would be absolutely remiss if I did not make a very big deal about the wonderful, wonderful team at Royal Credit Union. I truly cannot thank them enough, and I so appreciate not only their financial support, but their promotion of this event series, and their collaboration as a member of our community. So without further ado, please welcome Jordan Pushpishbal, Business Banking Officer at Royal Credit Union. With 15 years in commercial lending, Jordan is passionate about helping startups succeed. Welcome, Jordan.
Thank you, Ray. It's so great to be here among so many innovators. I don't think I'm as tall as you. At Royal Credit Union, we help businesses of all sizes with lending, banking, and treasury management services so you can focus on growing your business. We've proudly sponsored Startup Week since inception because it is so incredible to have such a positive impact on both of the Chippewa Valley and across the state. Now let's kick it off with our first keynote speaker, Emily Laird, AI Integration Technologist at UW Stout. Emily leads efforts to advance AI literacy and bringing emerging tech into classrooms. She also consults with industry leaders and hosts the podcast Generative AI 101, making complex concepts accessible to everyone. Please join me in welcoming Emily Laird.
Hi. gosh, I'm taller than both of you. Hooray for me. Okay, thanks for having me. I'm just gonna get my tech plugged in so we can do the thing. Hang on now. I know, this is the not flashy part. Okay, so I love the introduction parts when you don't get to give them yourself because, and that's not gonna work now, cool. Oh, thank you. Because I always feel like you're at your own funeral, but you're there, you're alive, right? And you get to hear what people want to say about you. I love that for me. All right, welcome to Beyond ChatGPT. So practical delegations of artificial intelligence. That's going to be the whole crux of this today. So it's embarrassing because I'm going to reintroduce myself, but I bring this up because one, I want to show you what I look like when I'm really still, not that you don't have 1,000 photos of me already in this room, which is fabulous, but so I'm an AI integration technologist. I'm an AI industry consultant, so I get to go all over the nation and consult with businesses large and small on integrating AI. It is a hell of a job. It is like 25 hours a day, every day. And I am also the vice president of business development for a global cancer research firm, that's the AI for good job. So we use machine learning to help identify rare forms of cancer in Sri Lanka, India, and China. We have partnerships with MD Anderson, Johns Hopkins, Tata Memorial, and many, many, many other, and Mayo. Oh, I forgot about them. Many other incredible places and spaces. I also host a podcast called Generative AI 101 that has become its own little phenomenon, and I was never anticipating that. I have an incredible mentor. So I bring the podcast up not for any form of shameless promotion. It won't bother me if you listen or don't listen. The challenge is I never wanted to do this, okay? I never wanted to start a podcast. I thought that was really corny and super played out. And I had this fabulous mentor from Microsoft. So my first tip to you is if you don't have a mentor, get one. You can be any age to have a mentor, and mentors come in different shapes, forms, and flavors, right? Mentors can be there for you for personal reasons, professional reasons, but you need someone who recognizes the passion that you have and stokes that fire in you and drives you forward. So I ended up falling into this friendship, mentorship with this very mean Russian woman who runs global AI integration for Microsoft. And she just kept pushing me. And she says to me, you learn, you never share. You never share. You go all over, you never share. I said, what are you talking about? I never share. I share with everyone. I go all over. She said, no, you need to share. You need to start a podcast. You never stop talking either. So it'd be nice if you would shut up and just talk once into this mic. So I did, and it just became this whole thing. And a lot of people know me globally because I have a podcast, which is really weird to think. But that's my second thing to you. Get a friggin' mentor. And the other thing is, your voice can be heard in the world. Just be passionate about it and put yourself out there. Like, you want to start a business, you want to start an incredible journey for yourself, put yourself out there. It's scary, it's weird, it's different, but I have to tell you, there's nothing that draws people to you like true, raw passion and drive. And if you have those two things, people just start following you. It's really weird. So 2 years ago, I started this AI weekly meetup. I would sit in a classroom at the University of Wisconsin-Stout. And you ever see that guy with that sign that's like, blah, 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 prove me wrong? It was like, I want to talk to you about AI. And at first it was just me. And then one day, this other guy showed up. And pretty soon another person showed up, and then another person, and now it's global. And now every week we have people from all over the world that show up virtually to this hybrid session, and we just talk AI. I have heard strange, crazy things that like NATO's doing with AI because someone from NATO decided to show up and tell us what's up. We've heard things from, universities across the globe, industries across the globe. I mean, it's just, if you build it, they will come, and it's like serious. Just keep showing up. People will find you. If you're passionate and you're driven and you believe in things, people will show up because they want to follow that passion. So I give you that. So I am so proud to host the weekly meetups because the weekly meetups are another thing where I just said, I don't give a shit. I'm just going to show up every week. And eventually I believe people will show up and do this with me. And then they did. And so I'm grateful for that every week. And you know what the coolest thing about the weekly meetup and Generative AI 101? They're free. I don't charge anything for them. I don't have sponsors. You're not going to show up to the podcast and be like, welcome Generative AI 1, sponsored by Adam and Eve. No, because I'm not a pervert on my podcast, but if you are, you're not going to get a code to that either. So it's just free. And I think that's also like what's important in life. Like, do you ever meet with people and you realize the whole time, like, you're just trying to sell me something? Yeah, I don't like those people either. So I went out in the world with this journey that I just wanted to bring artificial intelligence literacy and fluency to people. Because I truly believe, literally, I truly believe this, that is the future of industries, that's the future of jobs, and that's the future of education. And if you gatekeep that, you're an evil person. Everyone should have equal access to these things. And so if I go and I meet with someone in business and industry and they call me a week later and they're like, dude, I'm really stressing out. I have to explain to my boss again why we need this like machine learning predictive model. I'm like, okay, I have a podcast episode. I'm going to send it to you. It breaks it down in really friendly, funny, interesting analogies. Think about that in your head. And I just want people to be empowered to do things. Okay, enough of my still picture. That's a lot. I'm going to give you a roadmap for what I'm trying to talk about today. So I'm going to start with the current state of AI modalities. Then we're going to do an adoption mindset cycle and then a delegation framework, because that's going to be really important. How many of you in the room currently use some form of AI? Awesome. Love that for you. How many of you are afraid of AI? Okay, okay, cool. I am too. So it makes it easier. Sometimes I go into rooms and everyone is, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. I actually recently just did a presentation and the speaker before me ended with AI is the true evil in the world. And so then I had to come out and be like, hello, everyone. I'm the embodiment of the true evil in the world. And it was just delightful. So let's get into it, because this kid, I can just tell stories for days. So AI in startups, so it knows your pitch deck, it forgets your coffee order. They're not great yet if we're talking about large language generative models. They're not great yet, but they can do a lot and they can really help in certain spaces and places. And for you, this will be contextual. Any industry I walk into, okay, so I've integrated AI into 46 industries now. Any industry I walk into, it's a little bit different, okay, because that's going to phase into that word delegation, which we'll talk about later. All right. So AI is already at work. You already engage with AI every single day. How many of you woke up this morning and opened your phone with your face? Yep, you did? Okay, good. So guess what? You woke up with AI. Oh my gosh. You little perverts again, right? You woke up this morning, AI was already in bed with you. You love that. All right, spam filters, email classifications, predictive models, things of that nature. They're already there. They've been there for years. They keep you safe. They keep you writing better messages. They correct things that you're working on. All of that. This was the great shock in spaces like higher ed, when all of a sudden all the AI detectors were they ping everything for AI, because we've been telling students to use Grammarly for over a decade, and that's AI. And so it's just this delightful little time where I get to go back in and be like, so remember when we integrated Grammarly, and that's an AI system, so this whole prediction thing won't work. Anyway, that's a rant about my other life. So invisible AI helpers at work include things like email, marketing CRMs, finance, analytics. Finance is always one of my favorite ones to talk about, solely because I firmly believe your bank knows more about you than anyone in your life. Your bank knows more about you than your spouse, than your mom, than your kids. Your bank watches everything you do. It knows where you like to go to Starbucks in the morning. It knows how much you like to spend at Starbucks. It knows that at 2 a.m, every 3 weeks, you go through some existential crisis in order to Korean skin cream off of TikTok. And it doesn't ping and shut your card down all the time, because that hit close to home for you, that TikTok. Okay, there we go. I could just tell. I was like, oh boy. It knows, so back in the day when I was young, and the Botox works really well, so I'm much older than I'm sure you're guessing right now. back in the day, if I went to Starbucks and I went like outside my normal route in Minneapolis, my card would like instantly get shut down and all hell would break loose with my bank, right? Not anymore, because we have advanced algorithms that work in the financial sector that they get normalized to what our patterns look like, okay? And that's the beauty of AI. AI can do things like look at 83,000 credit card transactions every second. And it's just using those credit card transactions to build these virtual profiles of you, of your customers, of your marketplace, and better understand what's normalized and what's an outlier. So this is how our cards don't get shut down all the time. And then of course we have things like analytics. I'll give you a quick history lesson. I don't know, I like this kind of stuff. So we have this space where AIs come in, and I'm oftentimes asked, and this can be by people in leadership, professors, businesses that are integrating AI across their stacks. They really want to know, like, how the hell did we get here? And that's a really good question. So we started in this early space, right, with the printing press, okay? So this area where now we can disseminate information to anyone, okay? And then from there, we moved into spaces where we have things like the telegram, so it's the 19th century version of left unread, but with way more anxiety involved, okay? And then we moved into the telephone, okay? So now we have this place where we can connect to anyone we want at any time, and we're all mapped across this grid, right? You can start to see we're laying the foundation for this modern framework of communication that can rest on top of it. From here, we move into the internet, which was invented, of course, by Al Gore in 1989. A lot of people don't know that. But proof that humans will invent world-changing tech and just use it to share cat photos. And it's very interesting. I have a resident historian that comes to the AI Weekly meetups, and this guy's just brilliant, right? And he always tells these incredible analogies, right? So he'll say to me, well, are your parents like candlelighters? No. Do your parents own a carriage? No. Do your parents, and he always uses these really great analogies, but one of the most interesting things he said lately, and this is a tangent, I'm sorry, you will quickly learn I have no presenter's notes. I just talk at you until they tell me you can't talk anymore. So what's really interesting is we think a lot in this current space of industry and startups and business about the idea of AI coming in and disrupting and taking everything away. There has been major integrations of technology in the past that have never taken things away, but they shift. Everyone shifts, and I just feel we're in a great shift. And so my resident historian once explained to me the field of veterinarian techs or veterinarians are a really great example of this. So prior to having cars, we all had horses and carriages, okay? And that meant more people had livestock or some form of animal used for travel. If you were really balling, you had a donkey, okay? I don't know if that's true. That's probably not true at all. But veterinarians were in higher demand because everyone needed that service consistently, okay? Like a modern mechanic, we all needed it, all right? But eventually, that went away. Ford showed up, other companies showed up. Now we got Teslas, we got everything, okay? Anything you can imagine. But we still have veterinarians. They've just pivoted, they've changed. The value of a veterinarian has shifted from traditional livestock care to a space of more household pet care. That's fine. There's still a business there. There's still people you know, I'm sure in your community, that are veterinarians. So they pivot. Now we are in this current space where we all have smartphones. And what was truly incredible about the smartphone, and I know that the iPhone was not the first smartphone, I know that. But this is what I want to make sure you understand. The iPhone was the first time in history that you had a marketplace in your pocket 24/7. You could go into a storefront at any time. It was where we really pivoted into a space where businesses could connect with you at all hours of the day. And this was incredibly pivotal to the place that we've gotten to now in modern day need for compute, in modern day need for things like inference. We expect things very quickly. We expect answers very quickly. AI has only boosted that. I don't have time to read the top 10 ranking searches on Google. I want to know right now. I want it to summarize and tell me the exact answer. And this expedited expectations will only continue. It will only continue into the customers that you serve, the businesses that you engage with, the partnerships that you make. That instantaneous communication becomes the expectation. I've done a ton of work with company mapping from reduction and areas of those, how would I say this? AI integration is sometimes about expediting people's abilities. One really interesting case study that's happened recently is Amazon. So Amazon, their CEO, Andy Jassy, came out in June with a memo. That memo said that generative AI was going to change things at Amazon. They were going full steam into generative AI. And because of that, he believes in things like leaner staffing. And so a few weeks ago, I'm sure you saw it in the news, it was everywhere, they did a 14,000 position job cut. And what they told the folks that remained at Amazon is lean into AI. Because what they want now is for you to extend your abilities into these tools. But what's a really cool key indicator for smaller businesses or startups in these spaces is how much you can actually do with these tools. Think about it. You have Amazon, the major conglomerate, the North Star for so many companies. If Amazon does it, so many companies model it. It has been that way since they made their buy now button orange. And people across the globe studied that. Like it was this huge thing, okay? But think about it. You have this major conglomerate saying we can do things leaner and we can do things better and we can do things more efficient. Now that we have this new tool set, you can do the exact same thing, okay? And the thing you already have in your pocket, you don't have bloat you have to figure out. They have that. They have to figure it out. You have something you can build using tools that can far extend the reach that we've never seen before. It's truly incredible. Okay, so let's talk about AI's current state, because here's the situation. I have the pleasure of lecturing 3 times a week. I teach oh my God, I didn't even tell you. I teach a whole course on generative AI at the university I work for. I also teach, so it's how cool. But one thing that I often find with students, and industry professionals as well, is they think that if I talk about AI, they say, is it ChatGPT? Is that ChatGPT? It is, yes. But that is one very small pocket and form of AI. That is actually even one very small pocket and form of the field of generative AI, which is what ChatGPT kind of lives in, okay? And so what I want to do is try to open your eyes to the idea that AI goes far beyond ChatGPT, okay? And to do that, I'm actually going to show you a video. This is what AI feels like right now in the world, AI adoption. You can watch the video. It just gives me lots of joy. So I feel like what people want to do right now is they want to try to use ChatGPT for everything. They're just going to push themselves into ChatGPT, and what that does for you is it's going to expedite things. It's going to expedite workloads. It's going to expedite your writing, but you're not really sure if it's the best tool or fit or how you should delegate to it. And so instead, we're all just like rolling down a hill really, really fast, right? Because it's just sped up everything that we do. And so I'm going to show you a little bit about all the categories that generative AI actually fits in. So one better than the other, and that's text to text. You chat into ChatGPT, it gives you a chat back out. Then there's text to image. You chat in, make me a raccoon surfing pizza in space. It gives you a sick image. You send it to me on LinkedIn, and I roll my eyes because that's what happens every single day. It's really wild. I encourage people at the end of the podcast to send me things. Never disappoints. So text to music. So this is really incredible because you're in a space now where maybe you can't afford to hire someone to make a catchy jingle for your business or your online social media presence, but now you can use AI to make these really incredible catchy jingles. We use anything from, I've mentored people who are preparing to go into job interviews, and I'm like, if you can't remember something really specific that you want to tell them about you, or you can't remember something really important about their mission, vision, values that you want to make sure you stress success in that interview, make a song of it. Listen to it a bunch. Listen to it on the plane. Listen to it as you drive in your car. You'll remember by the time you get there. It'll be in your head. It'll be burned in your brain for a lifetime. I tell my students, you're interviewing for a job and you want to remember some key points, or you're studying for a test, make a song, listen to it, burn it into your brain. Then we have things like text to audio and then text to video. So we've seen newer models come out like VO3 from Google or Sora 2 from OpenAI. And these are really incredible. Has anyone played with the video generation tools? Yeah, really wild, right? Cool stuff. I mean, it's truly incredible what you can do now. The challenge with that is we are kind of entering this new era where it's like, I kind of tell my students it's this interesting lack of privacy area, but it's a space where we're not really sure if we can trust what we see. But for those of us who are creators or developers, it allows us to unlock things that we've never traditionally been able to do before. It's a challenge to hire an entire production team sometimes. It's a budgetary constraint. So these tools really unlock and help with additional things. The other one that's really popular across many industries is text to code, and then text to 3D. I worked on a really cool project at our university, actually, where we had kindergartners come from a local school, and they were the clients. And they met with our senior engineering students. And honestly, having a kindergartner as a client is not that different than having an aged CEO as a client. I have to tell you from experience. They want what they want. Sometimes it makes no sense. It's a bit delusional, but they want it. You're going to make it happen. You're like, okay. So we had them come in, and what they got to do is they got to design their dream toy. How cool is that? Okay. Now, before they came in and had the clients, I gave our students a rundown of how to use Adobe's Firefly tool, and we really practiced prompting, okay? Because you gotta get image prompting is a little bit different. You gotta open your mind to exactly kind of how you want things to come out. There's some key tips and tricks I gave them, so we really sat and we practiced. So then we unleashed our clients, okay? And so each student got to engage with this client. They had very, very specific demands for this dream toy they wanted. And so what was really cool about that is that our students could sit and they could effectively prompt in and show the client exactly what they could make them. And the client, if you've ever engaged with small children, they're very definitive about what they want. They will tell you, absolutely not. That is absolutely garbage. This is what I want. And then you can adjust that prompt. Now, we took it a step further. This was the cool part. We could then take that 2D image that our client approved, and we can move that into an AI 3D modeling system that would instantaneously build a 3D model of that dream toy. And then we could send it to a 3D printer. And 4 hours later, we could give the dream toy to the child. Okay. And that is the same thing that I model in business and industry spaces, right? When I tell someone, when I go into a manufacturing environment, that we can actually model and produce that part in 4 hours, and they're like, show me, you're a crazy woman. I'm like, just you wait. And we can do those things now. So think about it like that. The customization, the place that we can get to where we can meet with people and get them to a place where we've produced their dream instantly. No longer are you stuck in client negotiation meetings over one design component for 6 months. You don't have lawyers dabbling into every last word before something goes into a production space. It's very instantaneous, and everyone's seen it and signed off on it. So it's really expedited. Then there's audio to audio and image text. It's not a big deal. We'll keep going because I could do this for days. All right. I'm going to introduce you to two of my favorite people. Not really, but all right. So Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz, they're two Silicon Valley, I don't know, OGs. Okay, I don't know. We learned the term give them flowers earlier or something. Now you know, oh geez, I don't know, it's probably not slang. Anyway, so the cool thing about these two is they run Andreessen Horowitz or A16Z. It's a venture capitalist firm in Silicon Valley, and they produce the top 100 generative AI tools list every 6 months. This is super helpful because it helps you to better understand the landscape that goes on in the generative AI space. So the 5th edition came out this year on August 27th. So these are all the current web products by unique monthly visits. So you can see things like ChatGPT still reigns supreme. So many of the frontier lab models are still in that top 10 space. What was really surprising to me is number 4, Grok. So Elon Musk's XAI seems to be kind of plunking along. I did not think anyone actually used Grok because it has so many quirks and issues and strangeties to it, and it's like always getting in trouble. So I won't go into details, but it had a really rough summer with some messages. But it's been fascinating to me because as I lecture in different classrooms across the nation, students use it. College students are really drawn to Grok, and I think it's its communication style and the fact that it isn't as finessed. It's a little bit more blunt, straightforward, and Elon Musky in many ways, right? What's also really interesting about this, and I point this out not to weird you out, so go with me on this journey, but I want you to look at things like number 8, Janitor AI, number 14, Spicy Chat, number 24, Crush on AI. Doesn't matter who I'm talking to. I could be in the highest ivory tower in the nation, and I will still point this out to CEOs and chancellors and that. It's a little weird to think, but people are building romantic relationships with AIs, okay? Deep, connected, her-type romantic relationships, all right? And although it seems weird, different, and new, you know who loves this? Marketing and communication people. And if you are in a business or startup position, you should too. Because what this shows you is that people can build true, meaningful relationships with artificial intelligence. People who could be your customers. People who could engage with your brand. And an AI could actually be an incredibly effective brand ambassador to your clients. And this will continue to permeate industry for many, many years, okay? So I sign a lot of NDAs and a lot of privacy agreements, so I'm gonna give you like a hint of this. I'm gonna give you an example, okay? In the future, maybe in like a year, you'll go to the grocery store. And at the grocery store, in the end cap, where there used to just be like endless amounts of cans that are now 89 cents, there's a hologram machine. And in the hologram machine is Tony the Tiger. And Tony the Tiger looks impeccably real. You could swear that is the Tony the Tiger. And Tony the Tiger, through computer vision AI, can see you. And through generative AI, can talk to you. And through predictive analytics, can determine what's in your cart, could also allow it to suggest to you other items you would really like. Tony the Tiger could even show you a video of you, yes, your face, sitting at your breakfast table enjoying Frosted Flakes. It's very Black Mirror, but it's very much coming. Many companies will start building in various forms of AI into ways that they market and connect with you, and I encourage you to do similar things. You can have a voice for your brand, you can have an AI for your brand, you can have predictive analytics that help you better understand your customers and what you should be upselling to them, but you can incorporate that into your brand ambassador, who may be an AI. These are things to start considering as you build a workforce that you yourself are curating based on data, based on what you can afford from a budget standpoint. So these AI tools are actually going to create a space where you can do much, much more and build deeper connections with people, with maybe non-humans on your payroll, okay? Let's see. So I just went over some of the key top ones. The other thing I show people, this may or may not help you. So these are the top mobile apps. The only reason I like to show this is just a standpoint that I want you to understand how active everyone is on ChatGPT. Like everyone has this. It was the #1 downloaded app for a very long time. It kind of got dethroned in September by Gemini for a while, but everyone has access to AI tools. And they have it right there in that marketplace we talked about earlier, now that we're all saturated with these smartphones. The other thing I like to bring into this space is look at how many of these tools focus on image, beauty, presentation. Okay, so that whole space we kind of lived in for many, many years, the Kardashian effect, where like you see someone online in a social media presence, and then you meet them in person and they look totally different, right? That will continue. That will just continue to be the norm. We will become, as a society, more normalized to this idea that what people look like online is probably not how they look in person. That's fine. All right. But it also then opens us up to a space to be more accepting of that. And that again opens us up to a space with more agentic AI and avatars and that type of thing. Okay. Let's see. And then there's agents. So this is supposed to be the year of the agent. I don't think it's actually played out the way we thought it would, but these tools just really aren't that ready yet. A lot of areas are experimenting with AI agents, so kind of this ability to do tasks, usually not as aligned with human oversight, but it's not as widespread as I think it was projected to be. But you can't trust everything that comes out of Silicon Valley in these frontier language model spaces because they are all just extreme hype men for this investment money that goes into these areas. But definitely we see things like scale operations, lead decision-making, and support customer delivery as part of these systems. I also was just gonna kind of break down for you the difference between generative AI, agentic AI, and AI agents, or I flipped those. But so generative, as we talked about earlier, I gave you those buckets of examples. This is really about generating new things. Okay. When we get into the space where we're talking about AI agents, this is more about autonomous action. And this involves really understanding your landscape, the types of processes that go on in your landscape. So like you hear like I'm an AI integration technologist, so that's my role. It sounds really like, I don't know, cool and of the times and all these things. I really go like, have you seen Office Space? And you're the Bobs? I'm the Bobs. Yep. And I'm like, what did you say you actually do here? Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to go into businesses and organizations and higher education landscapes and K through 12 landscapes. And I'm saying, what is the flow of process here? When this paper gets signed, where does it go? And does that happen digitally? Is there a form involved? Who fills it out? And we're just mapping. And that mapping is going to get us to delegation. The beautiful thing about a startup, and a startup that is AI mindset first, you're going to think more about these things. You're going to think about, if I had a form, could it just be filled out by an AI? If I had a spreadsheet, could an AI agent engage with it and pull data? Okay. If I had a process flow, could I put an agentic AI system in that would do most of this work? Could I put in some form of autonomy or automation that could complete it for me? And these are the types of things you can be thinking through as you're integrating. And that is going to help you designate and delegate what types of tools you're onboarding. Because one of the biggest challenges that I deal with any industry or sector is everyone wanted to adopt the hottest, shiniest AI tool before they even knew what they were going to do with it, okay? So it's like when you were a kid and your friends all got puppies. So you like went to your parents and you're like, I need a puppy. I got to get a puppy. And they're like, well, that's a lot of responsibility. You can't just have a puppy. I need one. So you get this puppy and what does it do? Chews up the couch, runs amok. You got to clean up after it. It's similar. A lot of like areas of industry and higher ed and K-12 have to like unleash these wildly puppies. They don't know what to do with it. It's running around. It's making a mess. It's a lot of challenges. Then you have things like agentic AI. So these are self-directed systems. They can do multiple processes. Usually we try to keep it to about 7 right now. Once we go beyond that, it has too much breakdown and there's too much risk involved. So AI comes with a lot of risk. And so we try to only keep it to about 7. And these are tested only in experimental pilots right now for most of the spaces I work with. So we're not giving too much to full autonomy agentic AI systems. So I give you some stats just so you understand kind of where we're at right now. According to McKinsey, I would say this is aligned with what I deal with. So 88% of organizations are using AI in at least one function. 62% are experimenting with AI agents. That is the hottest thing right now. If I get any email about anything every day, it's agents. Everyone wants to build an agent. How do I build an agent? We want to build an agent. Why do you want to build an agent? That's usually my first question. 23% are then scaling. So 23% of industry has found a use case that's worked. They can now invest effectively in the tool and scale from there. So that's kind of the landscape of where we're at. So it gives you an idea that everyone is truly adopting this space. Why this feels very different from other technology integrations. So we're definitely seeing a core business impact. I talked earlier about Amazon as kind of my use case example of a lot of integration is cause for a leaner workload in those spaces. But we've also seen major gains from companies who've integrated AI tools and then rapid developments. So the one challenge that many industries have, you may have this too, because I want to give you like a heads up on sort of like these bottlenecks or hurdles you're going to face. There is usually a new AI tool, product, or capability every 3 weeks. So it's a lot to keep up on. So what's really been impactful for most of the spaces that I work with is they have someone like me, right? So someone who's in my role who keeps up on these things, who can understand where tools are going to go, where investments are leading to, what companies are getting involved with what companies, and how that could actually reduce our token costs, those types of things. So it's good to have someone aligned or an allegiance on your team that can do these things, because it's going to be a lot for you to keep up on while you're trying to also run your business. The other thing is just to ensure that you're not doing AI in a silo. That is one of my biggest challenges with people. And I've seen this a lot. One really good example I'll give you is policy writing. There's a lot of policies that I'm asked to review and look at. And the biggest challenge I have with the policies is that they have not scoped all of the stakeholders that are involved with their business or brand. So it's good that you think about that from the standpoint, if you are thinking about integrating AI, try to do it with others involved, or try to use some form of friend who's great with tech or consulting, that type of thing. It's just beneficial to think of like the more comprehensive landscape of how you're engaging it. And then resource constraints, so small teams must prioritize high ROI investment. So the easiest way I like to think about it, and the one like little like tip or trick I can give you. So if I go into a business and we're trying to integrate AI into their space, everyone wants to bring me in and they're looking for ROI. Okay, that makes sense. So we do a landscape scan. We find clear identified use cases where AI tools could be integrated. And then what I'm looking for is I'm looking to upskill or perform some change management to get to a place where we can find 40 hours a week. So that's what we're looking for to start. So whether I'm working with a finance team, a marketing team, a software development team, it doesn't matter. We're trying to look for the right tool and the right amount of time back. So it's like a game. I'm trying to build a human from this AI tool, using 40 hours a week as the target goal, because then I can show whomever I'm reporting to that we've gotten the output of one worker here with integrating this tool. And then as time goes on, what we're trying to do through this KPIs framework I use is we're trying to get to a place where we can now identify 40 more hours. Typically, I found once we get to about 80 hours, we find a place where people start to have those aha moments with the AI tools, where they start to realize this can actually do this other process, or there's now a comfortability of the word delegation. They can delegate more to AI because they start trusting it more. They've learned how to work with it most effectively. They've learned when they need to be in the loop with the AI system or the agent or the tool, and when they can allow it to do what it needs to do. So it's getting to a place of that comfortability where you feel like you can kind of like let it loose with constraints, but you've found those constraints, how often you need to check in on it. So with that, this adoption mindset that I found sort of holds true as it starts with curiosity, but then a healthy dose of skepticism. Most places start with curiosity because they feel like AI is the competitive common denominator, right? I had a large industry survey we just did, and one of the main reasons why most companies identify that they're integrating AI was to stay competitive in the market. Okay, so they're clearly curious because they want to stay competitive. The skepticism is a good next healthy space. If I'm working with any team or leader who is highly skeptic of AI, I'm in a good place, okay? Because now we have a healthy concern over it because there is risk involved. There is concerns about data privacy. There's other concerns, especially when we're working in like higher ed landscapes of FERPA. And if we're going into medical spaces, like I'm familiar with, we're looking at HIPAA. So you have to keep all those in mind. So skepticism is a really good thing. Then experimentation. So now you have to get to a place where you're comfortable testing things cautiously and seeing if it works or not. And then you usually get to overwhelm. So a lot of times people try to expedite this a little too fast. It's a natural state that I find. It goes back to what I was telling you before by people who just kind of put the shiny tool in. They're not sure if it's the right shiny tool or not. So that's kind of that overwhelm feeling. You're not sure, you're rolling down the hill really fast, everything's really expedited, but you're not sure if it's right or not. The last one is integration. Through this skepticism and overwhelm space, you tend to find these key moments. These use cases align perfectly with the sector. They identify this ROI that we can show. They align with these KPIs that we've identified for whatever area it is. And now we have a space where we can comfortably place an integration that makes sense, everyone's comfortable with, and everyone feels is in the best interest of that space of the company. Then this shift comes. It's like this epiphany when you just accept that something is going to work for you. And we feel more comfortable with AI completely. And now we get to a place where we've really prepped our landscape. And we've looked at spaces like literacy and fluency for our staffs and our team, because that's highly critical as well. So then delegation, so aligning work of AI systems. So I'll just run through this with you so that you have it. This is just the framework that I tend to use. So first of all, we have to identify the task type. So we've already done a landscape assessment. We've found areas that we can delegate an AI to. So identifying the task, usually it's things like information retrieval, drafting, summarization, pattern detection or prediction. There are many, many more key indicators that we can find, but these three tend to be the easiest that can be outsourced to it. Then we need to get to a place where we can define the output standards. So specifically what usable output looks like. This again is extremely contextual. So this is again, a time where you will have to self-assess the work that's required, and you will have to self-assess what is good enough, okay? So if you were all a marketing or a brand team, you would have boilerplate copy, you'd have a brand guide, you'd have certain criteria that everything needs to run through. So your website has a voice and tone, your social media has that, and you have to benchmark everything that your AI is going to do against those things that your company already has. And so that's going to get you to a place where you kind of have this assessment that you're going in. So you have standards. Then there's guardrails, okay? So this again, little bit different every instance of integration, but the biggest thing I will tell you, and this goes back to a story. I'll tell you a story. This is be more entertaining than that. All right. Okay, so like last year, I sat on a panel with this CEO from a company called Lindy's. Has anyone ever heard of Lindy's? Yes. Okay. So Lindy's are these customer service chatbots you can buy for your company. All right. And so the CEO, he's telling this like fascinating little story about how one night he even uses Lindy's for his own company, Lindy's, go friggin' figure, right? So one night he's like, all right, I'm going to bed, I'm out, but the last thing I'm going to do is be the human in the loop, which means I check in on my AIs frequently to make sure these little robotic monsters aren't like running amok on my company, okay? Because you got to check in with them all the time. They're like little gremlins. And so he goes, he checks his computer, he sees that there's an email that had gone out from one of his Lindy's to a customer. The customer asks, hey, we just integrated our Lindy's. I want to send our integration, our web team, some of the videos for Lindy integration. If you could just pass those to me, that'd be super beneficial. The Lindy's like, of course, thanks for working with Lindy, da, 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 da. Here's the links to your video. The CEO's like, fabulous, Lindy's doing her job. Shuts laptop, good night. He's laying in bed. He has that just instant shock of panic when he remembers he does not have training videos as part of Lindy.com, okay? So he hauls back to his computer, flips open his laptop, clicks the link. Can anyone guess what the Lindy sent a link to? You can guess. Adam, do you know? Adult videos. Adult videos? Girl, no. Oh, man.
The Lindy dance.
No. That's a good guess, though. Anyone else? Think about it like this. Okay, contextually, folks. What is something that we like to send a joking video to each other of? God, this is not a good charades, is it? All right. The Lindy rickrolled the customer. It sent them to a video of Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up, right? And why did it do that? Because Lindy's run on larger generative AI models that are trained on the whole of the internet, everything that's out there, all the weird, sick, strange humor that we as humans like to use. So the Lindy was probably trained on something like reddit.com, which uses that as like a humorous thing, right? You can't get away from that video. You drive down the road, someone's got a QR code in the back of their car, you're like, I wonder what that is. Shit, the Rick Astley video. It's what we do. It's a humor thing as humans. And so what AI does is it kind of dissects the landscape of us as humans and our weird little idiosyncrasies that are towards humor and trolling each other. And it just injects that into spaces that it doesn't need to. And so it's important to remember when you're working with AI tools, they go off the rails sometimes because they just think that's what you want. They think as humans, that's the humor we need or what's appropriate in that situation, but they're just wrong. They're just not always good at reading the room. And people will say to me, well, they hallucinate. Yeah, so do you. We watch, okay, who went through COVID-19? We all did, right? Who went through a weird state where you watched way too many murder documentaries on Netflix? Yeah, we all did. We've all watched way too many murder docs, okay? What do you remember about the murder docs? Because if your answer is, I remember people saw things that they never saw, right? Or who likes Dateline? Because I freaking do, okay? I can just hear it now, like that the weird voicing that they use on Dateline. And that was like, ask a question, they repeat the question, it's a whole thing. But what you'll hear often, whether it's a murder documentary or Dateline, is humans misremembering an event. You saw a white van at noon. Actually, it was a blue sports car at 4 p.m. It's just like that. People just misremember information all the time. Think about it, AIs are just the same. They just screw up, they misremember things. So they're hallucinating little monsters just like you and me. Then you need to establish a repeatable workflow. So once you have an idea of how the AI is going to integrate in your business, you need a workflow that's going to make sense. Define the task, assign AI the role, human oversight, run and refine, rinse, and repeat. You have to check in on these things all the time. If you have no one who will check in on your chatbot, you don't need one. Okay, I'm just going to tell you that right now. If no one's ever going to check in and make sure it's not sending Rick Astley videos or writing weird stuff like Crocs does, you probably just don't need it. And so it's just a different world now. So my first job when I was out of college is I built chatbots. It was a different time then, okay? Again, the Botox is holding strong, but like I was much, much, much younger. And we would literally write hand script branching algorithms. So if you came in from a certain IP address, I led you down this chain. If you talked to any search engine about this, I led you down this chain. It was way more human in the loop than now. Now we have generative, and it can do so much more with things like predictive analytics, and this incredible like text-to-text generation is all actually based on really advanced mathematics that happens under the hood of these large language models. But it still involves the same practice of human in the loop. They're just way easier to build. So it's all a rinse and repeat in this space. Let's see, measuring performance. So the last thing that I will do in any environment or space or company or higher education, whatever it might be, we're looking for measured outcomes. Because if you're going to do this, you have to have a reason to spend your money correctly. If you're not getting anything out of it, save your money, invest it elsewhere where it will make more sense. So the 4 key sectors that I always look at are efficiency gains. This can be done through various specific KPIs that you're going to develop within your space, sector, industry. Then you're going to look at error and risk signals. So there is error and there is risk involved with AIs. So you're going to want to make sure that you have some threshold. This goes back to when I talked earlier about your output standards. Output standards also involve things like risk. Okay, so then I work with K through 12. I'll give you that as an example because I haven't used them yet today. And we're integrating a chatbot into a classroom. The risk and the error signal standard of a chatbot responding to a student's mental health crisis, saying something like, well, just kill yourself, is 0. We have a 0 tolerance for these things. And you need to have 0 tolerances for these things in your business too, right? So these are things you need to start thinking of from a standards aspect. What are your standards as a business or as a company or as a brand that you would allow or not allow at all in your space? Okay? Would you allow your customers' data to ever be questioned? No. That's a standard then that you have to stand behind when you're integrating tools, and things to keep in mind when you're looking at negotiations with different tool providers. So you have to have these standards figured out. Then output quality. This can mean many different things to many different sectors. If it's in finance, the output quality means that the AI is catching things that it should when it should. If you're in marketing or brand, it means that when the AI gives an output or writes an email or whatever it might be, that it actually links to a real video that your company has produced, or it uses the brand voice and tone that you've trained the AI to use. Last is to improve over time. So remember when I told you earlier that you're looking for 40 hours a week? Maybe you're not. Maybe you're looking for 5. Maybe that's what you need. But set that measure and hit that measure, because if it's not, you don't need the tool. You're again investing in something you don't need yet, or you just have the wrong tool for what you want to do. So these are just things to start thinking about, to invest smarter in AI tools. And that's it. I probably went way longer than I was supposed to, but I'm a talker, as I told you at the jump. So I appreciate your attention. You can connect with me on LinkedIn if you want. You do not have to. You can listen to the Generative AI podcast if you want. It's just me talking again. And you can always attend the AI Weekly meetups. There's a website, and I post on them often on my LinkedIn. So at this point, if you have any questions immediately about this, otherwise we'll have a Q&A session after. Thank you. Sure. I don't know how that works.
No, you're fine. Okay, so who's going to go home and binge listen to the podcast? Who's going to binge watch Dateline? Just kidding. Thank you so much, Emily. That was fascinating. We're so proud to have you as a globally recognized expert and resource in the Chippewa Valley. Now, from one visionary to another, our next keynote speaker is a true example of how big ideas can start right here in Eau Claire and scale globally. So born and raised in Eau Claire, Zach Halmstead is a graduate of Eau Claire North and UW Eau Claire, where he received a degree in music with a minor in computer science. His time in the IT department at, sorry, probably could have waited. No, that's okay. So his time in the IT department at UW Eau Claire exposed him to the world of managing Apple products in an organization. In 2002, Zach co-founded Jamf, which has grown to 15 offices and over 2,500 employees around the world. After leaving Jamf in 2017, Zach turned his focus to revitalizing downtown Eau Claire. He co-founded the Pablo Group, which has had a huge impact in our downtown. It renovated the Lismore and Oxbow hotels and operates several bars, restaurants, coffee shops, apartments, and Eau Claire's branch of the Coven. So please join me in welcoming a founder who builds both companies and communities, Zach Halmstead.
Hey, everyone. This is the piece that's still, after 20 years, is harder than it should be. Thanks for having me here today. It's super fun to be able to chat with folks again. As we were getting ready for this week, using the theme of the week of being resourceful, I spent a lot of time reflecting on all the different resources that I've had over the last 20 some years of my life that have helped me in different ways. So I've been trying to look at those examples and figure out how to talk to you all about it. There are two options, both equally painful for everyone in this room. I can either stand up here and talk at you and tell you what I think, or I can reminisce about the things I've done in the past. And since they're both miserable for you, I'm going to do both of them. What we're looking at today is definitely not an exhaustive list of resources, but they're ones that I think I can give you examples of. So for me personally, I learn really well through examples and stories. I don't learn really well by just things being laid out in front of me. So it's kind of what I'm going to try and do today. Hopefully disperse some good conversation when you're back up here and we get to have fun doing Q&A. So the two buckets I'm going to look at here. The first one is internal resources. And to me, that's the core assets that you personally bring to the table. So the first and maybe most important of these resources that you bring forward is your vision. It's your North Star. Every decision that you make is trying to get you one step closer to fulfilling that vision. So if I go back to the very early days at Jamf, our vision was super simple and fairly well defined. So our mission statement was helping organizations succeed with Apple. We couldn't quite articulate that the first 4 or 5 years, but regardless, every day we woke up with that singular vision of what we were trying to do. It was really easy to know that we had limited time, we had limited resources, which we're talking about today, but we knew where we were trying to get to, and everything that we did was trying to get us just a little bit closer to that. As you look at the startup ecosystem and the companies that you are all building, the products that you're all building, one of the things that you love to hear, that you hear the startup community love to talk about constantly is pivoting, right? You got to pivot. Sometimes you do have to pivot. Sometimes pivoting is the easy way out. Sometimes pivoting is what other people that you think might know more than you or definitely have more experience than you are telling you to do because it's how they would have done it. So in the first 10 years of Jamf, we heard the phrase, if you want to be a real company, you have to do this. No less than once a week for 10 years. It was nonstop. If you want to be a real company, you have to also do Windows was the full sentence that people would say to us. And I don't know if we just didn't want to be a real company. I don't think that was the case. I think that we just saw a niche that we had a lot of excitement about, and that was our vision, was to help that niche. And so for us, it became, we use this metaphor that I don't know if is great, but the one that we use is, we wanted to build BMWs and not Kias. And when I'm saying that, I actually think Kia is a great car. I think that it is a great business model. It's a super, they're a wildly successful company, but they're building two different products for two different people. And what we were really focused on is building a really high quality product that solved a lot of really deep problems for a very small subset of people. So if we would have, back in those days in the early to mid 2000s, if we had said we're gonna also do Windows, we would have increased the market cap that we were looking at by 5,000% by doing that overnight. And we just always every day woke up and said that's the wrong thing to do. The second thing that internally you bring to the table is your domain expertise. So this is the knowledge that you have about the product you're building, the problem you're trying to solve, that you don't think, or that you know things that other people don't. So for me personally, that was, I had 4 years of background working at UW-Eau Claire in the IT department. I got to show up there every day to work, and we supported about 200 faculty members in my little 1 to 2 person group, and we supported another 200 lab computers. So I had a bunch of really deep knowledge that I gained over those 4 years about what the problems were that were in front of us. And while I was doing that, I got to see my friends on the Windows side had all these really cool tools that they got to do their job from their desk. I got to use what we called SneakerNet back in the day, which meant you walked to someone's office to help them. So I started to see the gap that could be bridged there, and no one was bridging it at that time because the market wasn't big enough. But that wasn't a concern of ours. We just wanted to go help people. But I had this massive amount of domain expertise from the 200 faculty members I was supporting. I learned how to make their lives better. Every day I would show up and figure out how to make the technology not be in the way of them trying to do their jobs, which was teaching students. And so we just showed up and we said, we understand the customer, we understand the product, and we're going to try and build the pieces that are missing to help people do their job better. The skills that you have that enable you to take your domain expertise and fulfill your vision are some of the most important skills that you have for your business. And for me, this was actually the most rewarding part of anything I ever did. I didn't have a lot of skills. I didn't have good skills, but I had enough skills and I had a lot of the domain expertise to be able to use those little bit of skills that I had to go build something. And what's really cool is when you as a founder have all of these items, you have the skill set to do something, you have domain expertise on what the problem is that you want to solve, and you have a vision of where you want to get to. You're one person. You get to make decisions wildly fast. And speaking from experience, a company of 400 people to 2,000 people, that decision that you might be able to make in a split second probably takes 3 or 4 months, if you're lucky, to get made before any person writes a single line of code to try and solve that problem. So when you actually have these skill sets, getting to apply them to seeing your vision be fulfilled is incredibly fun. It's incredibly valuable. And you can move really, really fast as a startup. And that's why people talk about the speed of a startup versus, the entrenched company that's been here for 50 years, is because every decision they make takes months for them to get to the spot where they're going to say what direction we're going. One of my favorite things, and one of the things that my buddies and I talk about is one of us would be on site with a customer and we would see a problem and we would have that problem solved by the time we showed up the next morning. Like, we would write software overnight, show up in their office the next day, and have that problem solved. The last thing that I really look at as a personal skill that I would bring to the table was my capacity to learn. You're always learning new things starting a company. And this was actually one of the most important things for me over my tenure at Jamf, was my ability to keep showing up and be able to do things I couldn't do the day before. Some of you might have heard me talk about liberal arts education before. I think that it really helped me. Well, I got a music major and a computer science minor. I had to take history classes. I had to take econ classes. And all these things that when you're in the class, you're like, why am I taking this? I'm never going to use it. And I don't know, it was about 4 or 5 years in the Jamf. All of a sudden I realized I didn't take those classes so I knew history. I took them so that I knew how to learn. And there were so many instances inside Jamf's history where it would become evident that we needed to solve a problem that none of us knew how to do. And I would get to go learn and be the expert to do that. One of the things I would say about being an entrepreneur, it's being a jack of all trades and a master of whatever is important today. And you have to fake that, right? You don't get to go to school. You don't get to go get your PhD in this new thing. But you have a limited amount of time to go present yourself as an expert in these things. So learning new skills, deepening the skills that you already have, and also a really important thing as we just saw this entire new world blossoming around us, keeping up with your domain expertise. Our domain that we were experts in when we started changed constantly and rapidly. We were constantly having to keep up with new things that Apple was doing, and the rate of that has just continued to speed up over time. And so you have this entire learning capacity that you need to build of deepening your skills, learning new things that you've never thought of before, and keeping up with the changing world around you. The other category, maybe obviously, is external resources. So these are things outside of yourself that you can employ to help fulfill your vision. First one, I think, as a lot of the startups in this room probably think about often, because everyone talks about going out and raising money, is financial capital. Lots of things that having financial capital allows you to do. You can hire talent, you can hire people to build products for you, you can market, you can go visit customers, you can scale. And for a lot of organizations, capital is really, really essential. I hung out with a guy last week who they're in the medical space. So to even get in that space, you need to get certain certifications from the government. And it's almost impossible to do that without a lot of startup capital to go hire the lawyers to get you into that space. For other organizations, you can bootstrap. We started Jamf with $1,300. With that $1,300, we bought one computer, we bought a domain name, we registered our LLC, and we bought an IDE so we could write software. That's basically the only money that we spent over the first couple years. We then decided to bootstrap for the next 11 years. So it was like 2013 when we finally took a round of investment. One time we met with a venture capitalist during that time, and just to look to see, like, hey, if we had money and we could go do more stuff. And we sat down with this guy and we tried to explain to him what we did. And at the end of the meeting, he offered us $1 million, which did sound like a lot of money, but then he finished the sentence, for 90% of the company. And we're like, that was the worst meeting I've ever been in my life. And we're never talking to a venture capitalist again, and we never did. So one meeting was such a bad experience that we just said, all right, we can bootstrap, we can do this. There's good things and bad things that came out of it. One of the many bad things was we didn't take a paycheck for the first 4.5 years. It wasn't that Jamf wasn't making any money, but every penny that we made, again, we're talking resources, right? And deploying those resources the most effective way. I knew that I lived in Eau Claire. I had a mortgage with RCU that was $406 a month. And so I knew that to eat and to pay my mortgage, I could do a little bit of consulting on the side and sort that out. So every penny that Jamf made, we knew that the best investment of that was to get ourselves on planes and get ourselves in front of potential customers. Back in those days, you had WebEx, which was kind of a predecessor to Zoom. Really grim. And if we gave a demo to someone over WebEx, there was probably a 1 in 100 chance that they were going to become a customer. If we went and saw them in person, there was probably a 1 in 2 chance that they were going to become a customer. So we realized, all right, our life is living on airplanes, and every penny that we get is going to buy us a middle seat in the back of a Sun Country plane to go see someone. human capital and social capital. So many of you in startups might have a co-founder that you work with. They're going to bring a different set of their own internal resources to the table. So for me, Chip had a great background in sales, marketing, operations, things that I knew nothing about. And so he got to bring an entirely different set of these resources to the table, and he could bring those to accomplish different things that I had never thought about or didn't want to. I still had to put on a technical sales hat once in a while, but outside of that, I didn't really have to do anything on the sales, marketing, or operations side. We, through time, had an incredible board. So we started building our board fairly early on in our organization. And it had multiple iterations, but every single one of those iterations was one of the most supportive groups of people I've ever been around. They knew nothing about the domain that we were working in. So their domain expertise in what we did was 0, maybe -1 if that's a thing. But they knew so much about building companies, about taking care of employees, about how we can make the right decisions today so that we can be in the spot that we want to be in 5 years. So when Emily's talking about find yourself a mentor, the mentors and advisors and board members that we had were absolutely crucial in our success. It took us 4.5 years before we had our first coworker. But once we did, we started finding people that were significantly smarter than us, solved problems that we didn't know how to solve. So they had their own set of domain expertise and skills that they brought to the table. They helped open up our time for the things that we were actually really good at versus the things that we had to do. And that was really when Jamf started to scale up, is when we were able to bring other people into the room to help us. One of the biggest, I think, human capital things that we looked at was not someone that we worked with, which was actually our customers. So we learned more from visiting our end users, talking to our end users, listening to our end users about the problems they were experiencing, building empathy. And every time that we got one of our coworkers to have deep empathy for the problems that our customers were going through, we solved problems faster. If you didn't understand why this is horrible for a customer, yeah, I'll get it fixed next week. If you understand that they're not going home to see their kids tonight, you're gonna get it fixed tomorrow so they can have dinner with their family tomorrow. You remember a little bit of that. And so that really helped us spending a lot of time with our customers, understanding the real world problems, not building solutions to problems that didn't exist, but really truly understanding what this problem looks like across 10 or 50 or 100 customers to understand what the impact of this. The last group that I don't have up here is groups like this. We didn't have anything like this. When we started Jamf in Eau Claire in 2002, there was next to nothing. We founded in, I think, June of 2002, and in December, we were shipping version 1 of our product. We had customers that wanted to pay us. We didn't know how to take money. That was hard, I guess, back then. So we walked into, is there anyone from the SBDC here? So they were the only resources that we knew of. If there was, I was going to say it wasn't them. They were the only group that we knew of that helped startups at all back then. And we walked in and we said, hey, we're getting ready to ship a product. We need to know how to take a credit card online. And they're like, cool, can we see your business plan? Like, we don't have one. And they're like, cool, can we help you write a business plan? Like, no, we need to take a credit card. And they're like, you just come back when you have a business plan and we'll go through it with you. And we went there twice and the exact same thing happened both times. That was the extent of the help that we knew how to find in Eau Claire at that point. So having these groups like this that you can be a part of today and all the support that the other people here are giving you, the other organizations in town and throughout Wisconsin are giving you, it's an incredible asset that we didn't have back then. Technology. Emily, do you want to come up and give a little talk on this? This all evolves so rapidly. Every bit of technology, of course, is just constantly evolving. You may or may not use AI in different ways. I use AI for this today. Emily and I were talking about this earlier. You have 40 different presentations that you give. This is a one and done presentation for me. So I was starting from scratch. And when Renee and I first talked about this, all I had to start with was the theme of the week. And so I started using ChatGPT and having conversations with it about, hey, here's my first thought. Here's the first 3 resources I can think of. And everything that it told me was horrible, but it got me thinking. And for me, that was a really useful thing. So I have 2 or 3 people in my life that I would bounce these kind of conversations off of, but they're not available. They don't want to talk about this. If we're going to get together, we're going to have a glass of whiskey. We're not going to talk about this. So it has become the friend that I bounce ideas off of when I don't want to bother someone. I used another tool that was up on your chart to do the first version of the keynote I'm giving right now. It was horrible, but it gave me great ideas. One of my buddies is the smartest human being I know. If you give him a blank sheet of paper and tell him to do something, he'll just stare at you. He cannot do anything with a blank sheet of paper. If you write one sentence that is like the worst solution to the problem, he's like, oh, I can work with that. I can fix that. But he can't do it with a blank sheet of paper. And I think that's what these tools has been really great for him, is he can ask the same question that was asked to him and he can get a horrible answer, but he can fix it. So what you're seeing today, there's probably 3 words that are actually from any of the conversations I've had. Yeah. Y'all know, like this entire row here knows who's I'm talking about. There's almost no content up here that has come from the help I got from AI, but it was really, really useful for me developing this in a vacuum by myself. Some other things that are really, really helpful that we didn't have back then, the cloud, that didn't exist. And so all of our customers were hosting our product in servers on their site. Giving you a little PTSD right now too, right? They didn't want to do that, it was in a data center somewhere. This is all wildly expensive from a human capital standpoint. And I think Jamf is currently trying to end the final on-prem hosted things. Like it's still going on 25 years later. The App Store and Google Play, for anyone that's writing apps, back in 2002, we were shipping CDs. We were mailing CDs to people. The first time we sold product in Europe, like what a disaster. Like how do you get it there? How do you take their money? How do you tell your tax guy that you just took money from Europe? Like this is all just an absolute disaster from an operations standpoint. Now you upload to the App Store or to Google Play, and it's done. They send you a check at the end of the month. That's it. That's your international distribution. They take a cut for it, but you know what? You get to focus 100% of your time on fulfilling your vision, not on stuff that's not bringing an ounce of value to your customers. Social media is way different marketing than we did back then. Again, we mailed physical things to people. We had pieces of paper that we handed out. Most of what we did that was successful was word of mouth. That was the only real way that we had to get the word around of what we did. This one ties in a little bit with the ability to learn. So again, I use AI to do this. I use AI weekly to do different things. But there are times that you need to acquire really deep knowledge of something. And I have not yet had AI present something to me that gets me excited enough to go say, all right, I'm going to go spend a week learning this. There's been a couple times where, again, going back to that idea of like the domain knowledge that we have, that I needed to have a new skill set to be able to transfer that domain knowledge to someone. And you can transfer that through a product. You can transfer it through a couple of different stories I'm going to tell right now. So when we shipped version 1, we shipped this tiny, cute little manual. I still have a couple copies of it back in 2002. It was just this tiny little blue manual. It was like 30 pages. It was probably 2,000 words of text altogether, maybe not even. And then we didn't ship another manual for like 6 years. So every customer that bought our product just got a CD or a link to a really complicated piece of software and a phone number to call for when they couldn't figure it out. So we got a lot of phone calls. We had tried to hire 2 different people that had expertise in technical writing to solve this problem for us. The second person that we hired was like the industry best guy to do this. He was who everyone recommended. We hired him, and like 3 months later, we saw a draft of like a chapter, and it was horrible. And we're like, man, this isn't going to work. This is going to fall on us if we want to solve it. So I went out, I bought a couple books on technical writing. I relied deeply on my English 101 class that I took at UW-Eau Claire. And in about 3 weeks, I shipped a 420 odd page manual to our customers. It was the first time they had that in a long time. The other time, it was a very similar topic of transferring our knowledge to someone else. We started knowing that we needed to create a certification course for our product. But a bunch of us from the technical side knew how horrible every certification course that we'd ever taken was. They were all just a joke. You came away with a piece of paper and almost no additional knowledge than what you had the day before you went. And so we started talking about how can we actually build something that really truly teaches people something new, something better about the product that we're building, so they can go back to work, not just with a sheet of paper, but a better understanding of how to do their job. And so again, I bought 3 or 4 books on technical training. I read, I think, 2.5 of them, and halfway through the 3rd book, I landed on a page that was just like, this is it. And I learned a ton through the first couple of books, but I had nothing clear on how we were going to solve the problem. And I hit this one page. I was on an airplane, and I was just like, this is it. This is what we're doing. And it literally had the entire how we trained everything, or how we trained all of our customers. It had it laid out in this one page, and we basically just copied that exactly, and we created a very successful and very well-regarded training program based on this. So this idea of using books or using online courses, I have courses I go back to every time I think I'm going to write software again. And I can learn so much in a very deep way with a couple of the courses that I have access to that I'll go back and run through for a couple days. And I come out feeling like I know enough to go be dangerous again. I can build something better than I could have ever built something 20 years ago. But it takes me the time of being able to go in and say, I'm going to dedicate my time to this book or to this course to come away with enough deep knowledge to go do something well. Again, this goes back to that idea of being able to pass yourself as an expert in something that you really know nothing about. So this is kind of how I viewed my world of all the different resources that I had that I would be able to employ at any time. And they're all serving the purpose of trying to fulfill the mission that we're on. So that vision is really the most important thing that every other thing that you're trying to use is helping you getting close to. And one of the last things I'll say here is you can get stuck in having to make a decision or in not knowing how to use the resource in front of you. And it's really hard. I end up there all the time right now. The phrase that sticks in my head that I've been using for the last 2 or 3 years is motion removes doubt. So anytime I'm stuck and I'm trying to figure out the right solution, it might be I just need to take an uncomfortable step forward in this way, or I need to move to one of the next resources that I have and try and solve a different problem. But any step that I take helps make the future state that I'm trying to get to a little bit more clear. That's it for me. Thanks, everyone.
One more big round of applause for Emily and Zach.
All right, now we're officially in Q&A time. That was really, really wonderful. So I am going to try to bring the microphone to people with questions, but if I can't do that, say it out loud and I'll repeat it on behalf of our live stream attendees. All right, so we're ready. Who's got a burning question?
can't have one. Hi, I have two questions. My first is specifically for Emily, and then my second one is for both of you.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
figure out the microphone. There you go.
Great.
What advice would you give to people in industries who rely a lot on human touch to be successful in integrating AI?
Sure. So I would say that you're going to have to cope with the idea that human touch and the idea of it'll shift over the next few years, maybe the next 5 years to a decade. People will expect different things. It's kind of why I started with that deck slides that showed you kind of like the history of the landscape and how we got to this space and how we just expect different things. If you are in an industry that expects more human touch, there will be, I'm sure, other forms of AI that will come out that will relate to that better. But it's just about, with any space or place, it's about assessing the landscape and then the pathways that users take to engage with you. And it would also go back to something that I get to say a lot to different industries. You don't need this. Like, AI is so hot right now, and that's cool. It's cool for me, but like, I also am in a lot of meetings sometimes where I'm like, you don't need this right now. It's like your industry is not ready for this yet, and your customers aren't ready for this yet. So that's my answer. All right, this one's for you.
I don't want to ask Zach that same question. Okay, you both talked about
Yeah, holograms. Tony the Tiger.
that. Actually, are we doing that? Aren't we doing that? You both talked about finding a mentor.
Yeah.
How?
So for me, I have lots of mentors, and maybe that's because I'm desperate for advice, but I find that whenever I'm truly passionate, okay, I'm tall. You all got to see that I'm tall, right? So I played sports, okay? My dad always said to me, if you want to be good at sports, find whoever is the best and play them a lot, okay? And so I would go to the YMCA, I'd bike down there, and I would play basketball against boys who were older than me or girls who were way better than me. And like, that just made me better at these things. And I've taken that same philosophy into my working life. Okay, so Arena is my mentor for Microsoft. She is terrifying. I am so scared of this woman. But every 2 weeks, I sit on a Zoom call with her, and I just my fingers are like clutched on it, and I'm just nervous. But like, I can be open with her because I'm passionate about something. And I want her to tell me what I need to do next, whether I take it or don't. But I think to find a mentor, what is it that you're passionate about? What is it you're driven about? What is it that you don't know what to do next? And find the person that you recognize a skill in that you don't have. You heard the whole thing, like, you don't meet any new people anymore. You just meet people that remind you of other people. Okay, well, in my world, I've done things that I'm so proud of professionally. I've got to the place that I want to be professionally. So now what I seek in people is what I don't have. So maybe I don't have the ability to sit in a meeting and effectively negotiate finance the way I wish I could. But when I find that person and I'm in a meeting and then I leave that meeting, I'm like, yo, I'm going to connect with you on LinkedIn. And instantly that's where I put them. And that's where they become this mentor, this North Star for me professionally, because now I want this person to teach me how to do that skill that I couldn't do. And that's how I find a mentor. There's not one mentor for everything. You can have a mentor for many different things. You are next.
It's a really good question because there's 1,000 ways you can get to the answer. And in some ways, I'm a horrible person to ask. I remember, I think about this all the time. I was Bob Baca, the music instructor from UW-Eau Claire. We were driving down maybe to Chicago to see one of my favorite piano players. And he's like, so if you get to talk to him at the event, what do you want to ask him? And I sat there and I thought about it. And I was like, every single question that I want to ask him, the only logical answer was I practiced. So that's the dumbest thing to think, right? And so that's what I'm saying. I'm a horrible person to ask, because I come from the guy I was alluding to earlier is this guy Woody, and his main I don't know, credo in life is do work. And that actually, I think, translates, the nice version of that is motion removes doubt, right? He's really just saying move forward. But when he says it, he yells do work at the top of his lungs, and it's jarring, but effective. So I've struggled with that over my life, because I think that I can just power through things, right? And that everything that I do is going to make the next thing a little bit clearer. But there's lots of different ways to view it. You can use your network to try and find people. You can go to the place that you want to be like, right? So if you have another business that you're like, this one is killing it, doing the exact things that I want to do in the exact same way, spend time there, find out who this person is that's getting that result, and figure out how to spend time with them. You might get rejected, right? And then there's you can just go hire someone, right? There's professional services that are like matchmaking for finding the mentor that you want in the role that you're in. So you can say, this is my job title, or this is the equivalent of my job title. I want a mentor for this. So we had one of our board members that was actually good at finding mentors in that space for different people in their jobs. And then the last thing I would look at is, when we were in a portfolio of other companies, they would put together calls for all of the people in that role, right? So when we had an investment from this private equity firm called Summit, and they would have once a month the CEO call, and the CEO from every one of their portcos would show up and talk about what they're going through. They do the same thing for the chief revenue officers. They do the same thing for the chief marketing officers. So that's also, if you're in a portfolio, you might have other peers at the same level inside other organizations that you can have, maybe not as mentors, but more in a room like this where you're talking to peers who are going through the same things.
Amazing.
Can I add something? Oh, okay, something you said just sparked something in me. I just want to tell you this, because I don't know if you need to hear it or not. You will get rejected by people that you think could be incredible mentors to you. Don't let that stop you at all. You will get laughed out of a room by people who tell you AI is not going to affect my industry, and then they'll call you 9 months later to apologize. This has happened. Okay, I was at a conference 2 years ago, and there was a person there that's like, you need to meet this person. You need to meet them. You two are like kindred spirits. They have a very prominent company in a very prominent space. I'm not going to name any names. They will not take my calls. They have their assistant call me back and are like, meh. So it's like this interesting place where we were kind of talking before we started, like, there will always be things that will humble you. I have a 4-year-old. She humbles me every single night. Okay, I can be on the biggest call with the biggest people. I can keynote with you. And let me tell you something, my daughter will still humble the hell out of me when I pick her up from daycare today. Like, this is just how it goes. Don't ever let that stop you from what you want. Like when Zach was talking about your North Star, your vision, your passion, people will try to take that from you. Don't ever let them. Don't ever let people take that from you. You drive forward, and if a door closes, get through the window. Like, it doesn't matter. You're going to keep going no matter what. So just keep that in mind always.
Emily, promise me you're not going to literally drop the mic, because that was a mic drop.
Oh, no, I'm not. Sorry.
No, you're great.
Now I am.
Could, if anyone else has a question, I think I saw one back there. Could you just raise your hand so I can plot my path across the room and gauge some time? Anyone else have questions after this next one? Okay, great. Here you go.
I might be wrong about this, but I feel like AI generated work, especially in creative fields, have an overwhelmingly negative perception.
Yeah.
How do you feel like that kind of goes against moving towards AI to develop a lot of these things?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's fair. And I work with a lot of companies who their clients will have AI used in the clause, so you may or may not be able to use it when producing media or images. I guess the biggest like pushback, a lot of people are adopting it, right? So where there's some that are slow, there's others that are expediting. Like, okay, I'm just going to be real with you. We have all been for many, many, many years looking at things that are just not real. Okay, like the Kardashians are not really that real looking in their images, right? I don't know about you, but I saw a Star Wars movie that Princess Leia was in, and Carrie Fisher was dead at the time. So, like, who knows? Like, we all just accepted that. I think we'll all get to a point where we just accept this reality that technology can create alongside humans. And I will tell you, from the design halls of Target Corporate all the way to major construction firms in New York City, people are using AI to work smarter, but they're still keeping humans in that space. It has been a very rare day that I have been involved with any creative teams that are just completely annexing like the human in the loop aspect, because AI is so it's coming. There's this newer thing that's going to be coming called world models. These are models that are not large language models. They're going to be models that are more understanding of the physical space. So if you keep up on AI, there's a person who's been the lead scientist at Meta for many years. He runs FAIR at Meta. His name is Jan LeCun. Jan is going to leave Meta now, and he's going to start his own company. He's going to focus on world models. So these things are coming. This has been a huge tangent. I'm sorry. Creative stuff. Listen, some people are going to use it. Some people aren't. A lot of companies are adopting it for more rapid development. And I just think it's going to keep, I don't know. Maybe that was a long way to tell you. I'm not sure. Thank you.
Excellent. Oh, perfect.
Zach talked about the value of the board that you had. Could you expand on that a little bit? What kinds of specific things they brought, and how did you find them, and how did you talk them into coming on board?
Yeah, at first, so the first iteration of our board, I think the big get that we had, and Rita, as you asked that question about how you find your mentors, Jim has become almost like a lifelong mentor to me. And Chip met him at a event that he went and talked at or something, and Jim was there in the audience, and they met afterwards. He got to meet Jim, talk to him a little bit, found out Jim's background. And when Chip was like, we got to start our board, and I was like, what's a board? We went to meet Jim. And I remember this day so specifically because I was running late and like almost got pulled over going on 94 to the far side of the cities. And meeting Jim was like, I can't believe the life experiences inside companies that, and to be honest, his own life experiences as well. But the things that man has done in his life and his willingness to share was absolutely incredible. Like, I can't believe how many companies he's been a part of in different roles. It seems like he's lived 10 lifetimes. And he's always done it from inside as an operator. So he was a really great early asset for us. And he was also not in like a full-time sense, but he was a working board member in the sense that we said, hey, we want to do an ESAP program. And he's like, cool. At the next meeting, I'll come back with a draft of a plan. And we're like, that's it. So he was our version of AI, where we were just like, build us an ESAP program, please. And so he was just an event like this where they met afterwards and stayed in touch. And when it was the right time, that's what they did. From there, we were trying to fill in gaps in our knowledge, in our domain expertise. So we got someone on our board that worked at Apple because we wanted to know more about how to operate like Apple, right? Our goal was to blur the lines between Jamf and Apple to make us seem like we're the same company, even though obviously we're not, right? But it was really, that was trying to reduce barriers for people who worked at Apple and tried to reduce barriers for our customers. So if you feel like you're working with one company, this is a lot easier for you, right? We got one of our tax guys to come and be our financial view on the board, right? He was the only person that we knew that had any money experience. So he spent time there. From there, we took a board member from a company that tried to acquire us, and we're like, we don't want to be acquired, but we really like this guy. So, no, definitely not. Definitely not. But he was the first guy that had lots of software experience, right? And then when we took our investment from Summit in 2013, suddenly we had the main guy that ran the investment from Summit, Greg, to this day, a close friend of mine, one of the smartest human beings I've ever met. And going back to the idea of Jim feeling like he's worked 100 jobs in his life, Greg has been on the board of 100 companies, and he knows so much about how companies operate, the pitfalls that are out there. So it was really slow and organic on how we brought every single person onto the board. The next person was, we had a big gap in marketing. We didn't know how to do it. So we went and found the woman who used to be the CMO at Adobe and got her on our board. So it's the same thing. You got to go out and you got to ask. You're going to get rejected, because we got rejected a couple times. But it was really that, what are the gaps that we have right now? And that was really a 3 to 5 year view for us. It was, what are the big swings that we are really missing internally right now that we need to take a big swing at next year, and we're going to get someone on the board to help us through that. Does that help?
I think we have time for one more question.
I'm going to add really quick on there, because there's this like little nugget of advice that I'm going to give, because like it's strung through a lot of what you had said, and it's like just great advice to always keep in mind. There's just so much power in showing up. Like, I can't tell you how just I like champion literacy and fluency, right? It's the reason I do the things that I do. Just the fact that you've showed up here today to hear both of us talk, whether you're interested in AI or starting a business or anything we've said, showing up and building those connections is the biggest thing you can ever do. And sometimes it's just getting that. We've talked today kind of about pushing yourself into uncomfortable spaces. Not all of us are extroverted, and the idea of going to social things and mixers or conferences can be really challenging. Showing up can change everything, because now you know someone who knows someone who knows someone who, before, when that door closed to you or you got rejected, now it's open because now you knew someone who knows that person. And so like that is just so important. That's all I'll add. Sorry, there's a question.
Yeah, so a question about the human element. AI is really here. It's taken over a lot of positions, future positions. As a business owner, you're probably facing laying off some people, bringing in some new people that understand AI, some people that are going to be redundant from AI. How does that feel moving forward as a business owner?
So I'm going to go back 20 some years before AI was a thing that we talked about, at least outside of movies. So I remember meeting my business partner, and it was a cold day in January. We both had shaved heads. I don't know why that's important to the story, but it is part of the memory I have of this. And we gave a demo of what was version 1 of our software. And he got really excited about it. And his business partner at the time looked at it and said, that's going to put us out of a job, right? This automates what we do. And so when I talked about earlier, the technology that we used was called SneakerNet, because we walked everywhere to do everything. He was worried that if we could do this without having to go visit every problem in person, it was going to take away every job. It was really just a massive pivot. And so Chip responded to me, got really excited. He's like, we're not going to be out of a job. We're going to do way more, and we're going to do it better. And so I think there's different ways of looking at this. And yeah, like I have some of the same concerns about what does this mean for our overall economy? What does it mean for different industries? Are there industries like music that I'm wildly terrified about what this means? Absolutely. But I think embracing technology has always been something that we figure out how to do more better, not necessarily with fewer people. But if we can create more value, if we can solve more problems, hopefully that gives us the value to go out and continue doing things. So for me, it's been about how do we embrace this? And one of the things that, again, this guy that I talked about a few times today, we used to always have the mentality, if we can work ourselves out of a job, we'll always have a job. Like if I can find a way to be so good at something that I make what I do today irrelevant, someone's gonna be real excited to get me to come solve the next problem. And that has always stuck with me. And so many times I have tried to do something that takes this thing that I do, maybe I'm good at, maybe I'm bad at, but make it so no one ever has to do it again. Hasn't been AI that's done that for us, but it has been technology. And dang it, every time I do it, I get more work afterwards. So I don't know. I don't think that's a very AI specific answer, but it is in the same realm of what we did was technology that automated tasks. We're talking about the same type of thing here, and we created a massive number of jobs doing that.
Amazing. Thank you. One more round of applause, everyone. Now, if I could please invite Austin and Claire up to the front of the room. We're going to do a real quick giveaway. So I'm going to let Austin and Claire officially introduce themselves. What's happening over here? Okay, excellent. Love it. Okay, so before I let Austin and Claire introduce themselves, I really want to make sure to call out how important they've been to this week in particular. So this is Claire Collins of Collins Creative and Austin Bauer of Austin Bauer Videography. And I'd like if everyone could please give a round of applause for them. They have been instrumental in any of the promotional work that you have seen online about this event. Okay, and with that, I'm gonna make these goofy guys do a giveaway.
Hi, everyone. As promised, if you were at our social media 101 workshop, we're doing a little giveaway. So during our workshop earlier this week, we just spoke about how small businesses can leverage social media to help with their marketing strategy, what strategies that you can use to cast your net wider than maybe a local audience. And so we did have a little giveaway, and then we have part 2 today. So it's a social media package, including a tripod, a Bluetooth microphone, and a light for your phone, because lighting is important always when content creating. So Austin is gonna, what? Yeah.
Add one thing. Also, there is a big book giveaway happening throughout this week. My company, Valorum, has provided the Money Models book from acquisition.com, or Alex Hormozy is an author, if anyone's familiar. It's a fantastic resource for up-and-coming entrepreneurs and something that we highly recommend. So a book will be included in this. If you win, please come up, and I would love to take a quick photo with our speakers, Claire, Austin, and the winner.
All right. Proverbial drum roll.
Yeah, drum roll.
Harry Lauer.
Woo!
No way.
Bear with us, everyone. We're going to do a quick photo op, and then we're going to wrap up.
Good for your entrepreneurial class, right?
Photogenic on demand. There we go. Perfect. Come on over here.
I probably could have done this after. What's happening?
Everyone's just, we just keep rotating.
I will never do this ever again. I'm so sorry. 1, 2, 3. Amazing. Thank you. One more round of applause. Thank you. Amazing. Okay, so we're going to work on wrapping up here. So just a couple last things from this old gal. The first thing I want to say is I was talking about some of the community advisors that made this event possible. And despite my best efforts, I neglected to mention a couple of people. Scott is here representing the Eau Claire Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much to that team for what they've done to help promote this event. And then Zach, you mentioned the Small Business Development Center. Harley, Casey, and other members of the team continue to be a huge proponent of this week in particular. So thank you to both of them. The very last round of applause I want this whole room to give is for a gentleman in the back named Andrew Pfeffer of Visionary Video Hub. He has been amazing. Rocking the live stream, just fantastic. So with that, what I'd really love to do is end with a quick moment of pump up. Let's see if I can pull this off. Now I feel the same pressure that you guys have felt this whole time, right? Drum roll, maybe? Okay, so I will not be making any comments after this. This is the conclusion of not only this keynote presentation, but the conclusion of Startup Chippewa Valley Week. So I hope you enjoyed this wrap-up video, and thank you all very much for your time.